living student. Hello, everybody. Hello, Vivian. And hello,
Hello,
Kate.
Jonathan.
How are you?
Hi, Kate.
How are you both doing?
Oh, we're fine. Well, I'm fine, I think. How are you, Vivikins?
I'm good. Just tired from work. You know what it's like. Always tired from work. I'm looking forward to the days I can retire. Wishing my life
I
away as
wouldn't,
usual.
I wouldn't recommend it. I'm supposed to have retired, and I'm far busier now I'm a pensioner than I ever was.
Hi,
Good evening, Nettie. Look who's here. It's Nettie.
We've got the lovely Kate on today. And for those of you
Can't
that
get
don't
Nettie.
know,
I can't get Nettie up. Yeah.
for those of you that don't know who Kate is, I'm going to let Kate introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does. You're going to love it.
Here we go. So I do say that predominantly I am a paranormal investigator, researcher and writer. I write for Haunter magazine. I'm also an author and podcaster. And I seem to have landed myself in the spot of having a specialism within fairy and folklore. That's in a nutshell.
You're our first, Kate. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We've never had a fairy and folklore specialist on before, have we, John?
No, and you and I were both on the same bill for the Strange Days Festival back in September.
How did I not see you?
God knows. I was the fat one in the wheelchair.
Honestly, were you speaking? You were speaking then?
Yeah, I spoke on the Sunday afternoon.
Good grief. I think Sunday was the only day where I actually got to catch people, but sorry about this. I was in the back selling my books and my gnomes. So I was actually in the back of the pub for pretty much the entire of the weekend.
So we must have passed. We must have
Yeah,
passed, going through the bar or something.
we must
Golly.
have done.
My mate Richard Freeman saw you and was telling me off and said I really should have seen your talk. It was brilliant. And I
Aw.
missed it. I can't remember why I missed it. There was some reason I was doing somebody's podcast or something. But yes, I mean you and I were this close towards meeting.
How bizarre. I thought you were going to say you missed me because I was actually on the Sunday morning, I was the hangover shift. So I was 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't expect anybody to turn up because the Saturday night had been a bit raucous after the lovely Brian Blessed had given his talk, and people were very merry on the Saturday night. So when I turned up at 10 o'clock, I expected 3 men and a whippet, but fortunately, I got quite a few people, which was nice. How did your talk go, John?
Mine went fine. I behaved badly, which was quite
Good.
good. Because I think if anybody had expected me to sit there and sit there and give I talked about the Owl Man in Cornwall,
Oh,
and I
nice.
gave a fairly raucous talk in which I swore a lot, sang a few songs, and made some
Made very.
non-PC jokes. So basically, did what I do every week here. So
Oh, it sounds delightful and well up my street. I'm sorry I missed it.
So you'll
well, I'm
meet up
on
at the
again
next
this
one.
year if you're going. So what was that, Vivi?
I said you're both going to meet up at the next one.
Well, I
Yes,
hope
definitely.
so. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm probably talking about my hunt for vampires in Mexico.
Nice.
But it also
Yeah, I'll be.
depends if I've finished my new book or not. If I've finished the book I'm writing in time, I'm going to be
Mhm.
shamelessly plugging that. But
Oh
otherwise,
yeah,
I'll be
got to do.
thinking about Mexican vampires.
Oh, Jamie's on his way to work. So hi, Jamie,
Bye,
and
Jamie.
bye,
Have
Jamie.
fun, my dear boy. So sorry to have interrupted everybody introducing each other, but
Nettie says that you're never bad.
you're a good
Never done.
girl, Betty. You're much nicer to me than I deserve.
Yeah.
I believe Isabel is watching. Hi,
Hi.
honey.
Right, Jonathan, we're going to
Yes.
get on to the Fae because we have. Oh, he's gone. There was somebody in the studio just now that wanted
Yeah.
to talk to Kate. We'll try and get him back on in a minute to ask his
What I
question.
think probably Kate should do to start off with is give a observer's guide to the Fae and what they are.
Yeah.
Oh, how long have you got? I can certainly do it from my perspective, and it's probably not something that would fit a lot of the narrative, the normal narrative around the fairies. I knew from, I think, a very young age that the fairy folk were not what I was seeing in children's books. They weren't twee. I didn't get on with children's stories that had, sort of pretty winged beings that wore floral dresses and skipped around granting wishes. It never sat right with me. And it wasn't until I came across the awesome work of the um, just absolute demigod that is Brian Froud, and his wife Wendy Froud, who did Dark Crystal, and they did the concept for the Labyrinth movie as well, that I realised that other people had at least this inkling or this notion that these were tricksy type characters. They weren't they weren't there to grant us wishes. They weren't there to make our lives easier or to give us a beautiful life. That's not what their intention was or is. And so the more I kind of explored it as a notion, the more, and even now, the more I believe that even the most benevolent to the most malevolent, there is a trickster nature in these beings. So right the way through, if you think you're having a really lovely encounter with these beings, and there's many stories of people having nice encounters, you've always got to be aware that these beings are very clever, very wily, and don't work within the same realms of values and morals that we do. And
Mhm.
once you're aware of that, they can be fun to be around. Even the more kind of naughty, sort of darker end of them can be. fairly fun if you know how to handle them. I do liken the fairy realm to, if somebody says what is a fairy, I'll say, well, how do I describe the whole animal kingdom? You just couldn't do it in one sentence. You would have to go through each genus and look at the qualities and look at the links between animals and the differences between them. And it's the same with the fairy realm. There is as much differentiation within, if not more, in the fairy realm as there are in the animal kingdom. So there's this whole notion of people thinking, oh, if you have an affinity with, I suppose, enjoying looking into the darker side of things, that there must be something wrong with you. And I liken it to, some people like snakes, some people like spiders, some people like predatorial animals and will have an affinity with them. It doesn't make them evil. So we kind of have to take a moralistic lens cap off of the subject, as well as a socio and religious lens cap off the subject. And once we start doing that and exploring it for what it is, without our sort of human eyes, our societal eyes, we can start unpicking what the subject is. But in a nutshell, there is no nutshell to what fairy folk are. I refer
Like
to
that.
them as the other. Yeah,
You're
I
right,
refer to them.
Vivian. She's our kind of people. She's one of us.
Am I? Is that mad as a March hare? Because I don't mind that.
Pretty much. No, I like the idea. In a
Yeah.
nutshell, there is no nutshell. That sums it. That is a beautifully elegant way of summing it up.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm probably going to steal
I like that.
one.
I'm going to use that for the demon side of things,
Yes.
because exactly, you can't explain it. It's like a nutshell within a nutshell. It's like some believe
Yeah.
that they're good, some believe that they're bad, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll show you
I think
something
that.
in a minute. I'll show you
Yeah.
it now.
I
Actually,
mean, yeah, that'd
this
be
is
good.
how this is how nutty I am. I got a new phone,
Oh
and
dear.
the first thing I did was put on like the screen wallpaper. And I love this. It's very dark and mysterious. I don't know if you can see that with the light. Ooh, dark and mysterious.
Oh yeah, yeah, very Baphomet-y.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I found this one. So when my phone is not opened,
Yeah.
hang on, I'll
Oh
show
yeah,
you
I just
again.
saw a goat. Just saw a goat.
So he's got
Yeah.
glitter. So he's having a disco there, and the other one's a bit more serious. So disco goat, nasty goat. And that's how I look at it. I think it's brilliant because I'm a bit nutty and a bit out there. So that you've got the fun side, and then you've got the more serious side. It's like you can't. It's a nutshell within a nutshell. You can't. It's hard to explain, like you've just explained. Hard to explain.
Yeah,
Why
it
are
is.
all the chicks in my life nuts?
All
That's
the
a
best
you
ones are.
question.
All the best ones are.
By the way, I got in the habit of referring to young ladies as chicks just because it used to annoy my wife. So it amused me. But we've got somebody that wants to meet you today, Kate.
Okay.
We have somebody
Yes.
who's had very experiences of his own, and
Let's
he's
get him
here
on.
waiting. Shall I bring him in? Vic? Okay, here we are. And I can't get the right button to work.
Hello,
Lee, how are you, my dear boy?
I'm very well. Hi, how are you
Anyway,
doing?
I
oh,
like calling you
I don't know.
Lordly. So, John, can you just change that to hello, Lordly. How are you getting on?
How do I
How,
change it?
I
Just say
think I
hello,
might.
Lordly.
Can I
Hello,
can I do
Lordly.
that? Hello.
No, we're gonna call you Lordly.
You remember me then? Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Of course, I wouldn't forget a face like that.
Oh. Kate, I was just listening
That's
to what
what
you
you
were
used to say
saying.
about Archie.
I was just listening to what you were saying,
Hmm?
and I have a few observations, I suppose. And you were talking about exploring into the dark and the forbidden and things like that, and about you can't really distinguish fairies because there's such a vast thing like humanity. You can't say one human. So I've always thought about the idea of befriending fairies and tried to, but not as a the same way you would see a human that there'll be good versions of fairies, or not. Nobody's good or bad, but that might be one that shares the same vibe as you know, and it could be a mutual thing, like a mutual friendship, like you're friends with your a cat. A cat's a good example because cats are very independent and have their own mind. So that's where I thought, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I would probably personally struggle with the terminology befriending. I think that you're right within the analogy of a pet or an animal, because you are guardian to those things. And I think if you can create an environment where you are more guardian, so you're leading that relationship as opposed to the fairies leading that relationship. And I think this is where people fall flat on the face sometimes. I hear people who are having difficulties with them, and I'll ask them simple questions like, have you got a fairy altar in your house or in your garden? And the majority of the time it's yes. And I'd say, who exactly are you inviting in? And they said the fairies. And I said, well, that's like, a Saturday evening at 7 o'clock, slinging your front door open with a bottle of gin and shouting, does anybody want a drink? You've got no idea who's going to come in, what kind of, energy they're going to bring into your space. And you've got
I
to
do
be
that
very
every Saturday.
aware that, huh?
I do that every Saturday. Open the door. Come in, everybody.
Come on in. Come and have a gin. So you do have to be careful and very, very mindful that they're not human. They don't care for our morals and values, and they actually find us quite ridiculous a lot of the time because they
we
live
are
within natural law.
we are ridiculous. Yeah, so
Can
I completely agree with fairies on that one.
can I expand on that, Kate? I mean, we're talking about fairies.
Mhm.
Could elementals, well, people like to put labels on things like we don't like. So they talk about elementals. So we don't know really what an elemental is. Is that fairy? Is that fae? Or could that be something totally different? Or is it a mixture of both? Because you hear of elementals being good and bad, like you've mentioned the fairies. Could that be the same thing? Only us as idiots, humans, don't know what is what. Do you know what I mean? And we give it this label, and it's actually not that at all. It could be one and the
It's
same.
it's a yes and no answer. So the yes part of it is, I believe that they've been subsumed into the fae realm. But I think in the first instance they were egregorial. So when we talk about, I mean, elementals is a trendy word, and it's an easier word for people to swallow than fairies. So when on programs you hear people saying elementals, they generally mean fairies. So
Okay.
we have these egregorial characters within the elements that, the alchemists use Paracelsus to put out into the world. Yes.
Excuse me, egregorial?
Yes.
What's
So
that mean?
a thought form. So an egregore is a thought form. It's
Oh,
usually by collective. So it's not a tulpa is an individual thought form, but a collective of people coming together, like witches would create familiars within a coven. The alchemists were said to create these elemental beings to help them with their work of alchemy. So you have the four elements within that. I believe that they have then been subsumed within sort of they have now been accepted into the fairy realm, because it's said that often egregorial beings will um, have a sense of sentience at some point, so they will become free thinking. especially if they're allowed to just bugger off and not have a job and do what they like. So I mean, the gnomes, we think of gnomes, we think of fairies, we think of that fairy realm, but actually gnomes come from that period of time, from alchemy. That's their origination. So it's like I say, it's a yes and no answer. Yes, they are part of the fairy realm now, to some extent, and because we use that terminology, but no, in the fact that that's not where the origins were. But it's that kind of, the origins of fairies are within that etherical realm. So who's to say that all fairies weren't sort of sung into existence, thought into existence, or brought into existence by a collective, whether that be energetic collective of nature, or whether that be the collective of human beings. It's a really interesting deep dive, that one is.
Sorry to
Me,
interrupt for a second. Nico, can you ask her to write down a detailed account of what happened, and can you email it to me, please? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Big cat sighting
Yeah.
near Biggleswade. Except I have no idea where Biggleswade is, but
near me. Not far. Nico's not far from me. I have a question. So you spoke about this collective doing whatever they're going to do. Could a church,
Yes.
especially an old ancient church, do exactly that without realizing that that's what they've just produced?
Oh, they do it. They know they produce it. So it's known
Oh,
within so what one of the theories that I really resonate with is that demonic entities are egregore, and they are created by a collective of people in the church, and energies of the parishioners don't have very little understanding. Or it could be, the lower levels of within religion have a very no understanding that they are creating or feeding these things. But I truly do believe the higher echelons within religion understand that these things are created and given power through the collective fear that's created
okay.
around them. So I heard somebody the other day talk about it, and they said that the only real way that you can ever get rid of demonic entities, because yes, he believed that they're real, was to basically deny them of your fear, deny them of reaction, deny acknowledgement, because that's what they gain their power from. So yes, they do. I believe that there is religious egregores that are created.
And do you think that they can, at the same time, you mentioned before, we think of all these fairies being nice and lovely. I know of an actual spot where, and it was documented over many years, that people were
Mhm.
going to this spot and then they were being slapped
Mhm.
physically. And
Mhm.
it was on a place where a church stood. And the
Mhm.
custodian at the time was telling me, "Oh yeah, we have an elemental."
Mhm.
Okay. And so it never went away. It's still
Mhm.
there, but it's not as active as it was. And the ghost hunters did not help it because they were provoking and pushing. But I understand it's still quite at a nice level. It's still there. It's not going to go away, but they've stopped the ghost hunts there now. Thanks.
Mhm.
also,
No,
I think
not all. They have one or two every now and again, but it's not done or not rinsed anything like it was. Do you think the ghost hunters can aggravate situations like that, not knowing?
I don't know about aggravate. I think they actually give power to these things. I mean, if you look at the regularly used buildings for ghost hunting, I mean, the ancient Ram Inn is a perfect example of that. Where, I mean, I have been there multiple times as part of my team, and every time we go, there is a shift and change in energy. We will have new spirits come through, as well as non-human entities and energies come through. And when you have that collective fear and spook factor, so people going into that building time and time again, kind of puts that pumps out so much energy into that building. You know, you've got coupled with that where you've got people unwittingly trauma dump on these kind of evenings. So they'll go along. A lot of people have gotten into ghost hunting because they've lost somebody, and it gives them a safe space to be able to talk about it. So there's trauma dumping there. And people also have their own kind of attachments that will hop off and go, okay, this looks like a fun place, we're going to stay. Going back to the church scenario, it may well be an elemental. So we know that a lot of the older churches were built on pagan sites of worship. They were, you know, were eradicated to build churches on. And I wonder whether that elemental was actually, or that fairy was actually part of that pagan sacred site, and it's trying to keep it sacred and keep it something within a realm that it understands, and use it in a realm that it understands.
It stands on a major ley line as well, which gives that extra. Anyway, I'll tell you off air where that place is. You'll be amazed.
Okay.
Also, remember that if these things are fed, if not created, by belief, the fact that fewer and fewer people are going to church is going to cause them to fade away a bit and less important. Lee, by the way, you've got a degree in theology, haven't you, Lee?
Yes. Theology
which
and
is
philosophy.
actually quite interesting to have a theologist actually in on this conversation.
Thank you.
Because I believe that the human energy that is given out during prayer is going to be different from any other energy that people give out. And that is why I've written quite widely about this. And I think that's why that's why the act of mass prayer can call these things into being.
It's quite an ancient place. I mean, the where this thing is now, it's a ruin, and it's not that calls the ghost hunters. It's the other building on the site, and it goes back to St. Felix. It's quite old, and St. Felix himself is said to have built this church where this thing is. But I think it's fascinating. I mean, I went there privately with just the two of us to see what would happen, and sadly, nothing did. It was like I was used to skin picks. You stand over there and see if anything hits you. It's like I wasn't told what was there. I was told afterwards. I was like, oh, thanks. But I had that empty feeling. I didn't. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I was the wrong person. Maybe because I'm not a devout churchgoer. I haven't got. I have belief, but not that kind of belief that would really give it the oomph. I don't know. But anyway, I find it quite interesting that would happen.
So, hello. I was just thinking about all the things that you've been saying. And I think that sometimes churches, especially the modern kind, with their very right-wing views, shall I say, could bring out very negative energy, because it's not about joining in love, it's joining in hatred for a particular thing. And I think that if we approach the Fae in our arrogance, if we come saying we want this or we want that or we want the other, then of course they're going to want to play tricks, because we're treating them as a thing to do something for us. It's the same if you made friends and you just wanted stuff from the friend, but you didn't give back to it. So I think I don't have any altars, by the way. The way I approach it is to like, we've got a place called Threepwood near Alton Towers. And I've been there a few times, and I think that has fairies. I've only seen like lights occasionally, like orbs. So I've not seen an actual fairy, but I've seen orbs. and feel in that place. It feels like the air has a different sound, if that makes any sense. When you go into that space, it becomes more tranquil. You feel more whole. Feels like the trees and everything is more knitted together. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you. I tend to avoid darker places because like I wouldn't want to invite a football fan into my home. I also wouldn't want to invite a dark spirit into my home either. And so it's really about, to me, seeking like. And what do you think about that? About these, not benevolent, but fairies that feed off nature and harmony and peace?
I think they help create that as well. I think ultimately they are more interested in nature because it's not imbued with the same complexities that we are. A squirrel's just a squirrel doing a squirrel thing. A tree's just a tree doing a tree thing. Whereas we're trying to be X, Y, and Z all the time, and the complexities are of human beings and our buildings and our society. And I think that they don't feed off that space. I think it's a symbiotic relationship between those spaces and these other beings, that they're protected by these beings, and in doing so, they understand the energetic interplay and interface that they get from these spaces. So bizarrely enough, you would think that the majority of modern encounters with fairies would happen within those spaces, but it's actually usually in people's houses. I mean, I don't know whether anybody's come across Dr. Simon Young's fairy census, which is like 6 books thick at the minute and off on the next leg. And reading through that, there is a heck of a lot of urban fairy encounters, which I find fascinating. So, they will go where they will go, and sometimes they will do what they do without real understanding. We can try and put this Darwinistic look on it, where we stick them in little boxes and try and put labels on them and stash them on the shelves, but they'll come along and kick those boxes down and go, that's not right. They will be what they'll be. But yes, those tranquil spaces are a good place to, I suppose, commune with the lighter side of the fairy realm, and to show that you are a human being that understands natural law and understands how important our connection and our relationship with nature is.
I live next to there's a huge wood just behind me here. It's an ancient woodland made up of, was originally planted as oak trees for ships. And
Yes.
And then the shipbuilding stopped and the forest continued. So it just goes on behind me for about 40 miles.
Wow.
So it's quite a huge forest there behind myself. And I think that so there's different kinds of fae. Do they take corporeal form?
Yes, definitely. And I think often, as as we have with the case of spirits of the dead, they will sometimes show us their emotional state as opposed to their actual true form, or they'll show us in a way that we can actually understand what they are. So I always say that I'm a better psychic and I'm a really shit medium. But when I was training to be a medium, I was seeing lots of ladies from from a very tight time span, but all wearing the same blue dress. And I suddenly cottoned on one day, they're not in the same blue dress, but what does that blue dress mean? And for me, blue means anxiety. It means that verging on depression. And in the same way, fairies will come through to us. Even if it's on a psychic level, they will show us themselves in a way that they want us to understand them. But they do have true forms. They do have real forms that they can come through solid. They can come through into this world very easily and exist solidly.
I've got a question. Do you think, or do you feel, or in your capacity, that this fairy realm, as we want to call it, Do you think they are older than we could comprehend? And they're seeing, and I've said this so many times, and please forgive me, that we are the most disgusting race on earth because we demolish and destroy everything. Do you think that they're showing themselves more and they're being fed from our actions because we're destroying everything? And this is the kicker. Do you think that we've got it all wrong, or we could have got it all wrong? And things like, we report on woodwows and Bigfoot. Again, is this the Fae kicking us up the backside and saying, right, you're not listening to me in this form. If I'm like this now, will you start listening? Do you think it's evolving and we're just the human race? We're not getting it. Do you think
I think it's a really complex question, because if you speak to a fellow fairy folklorist out in Ireland, they will tell you the exact opposite, and they will tell you that the people who have glimpsed fairyland have said that their realm is absolute trash. It's absolute trash. They haven't understood how to take care of it. And that's why they're coming into our dimension, because it's still something that resembles what they find beautiful, which I think finds a really interesting take. And they see them almost vampiric in the fact that they're coming over and they're actually exerting, taking energy from our environments and us as people, which is an interesting one. The other one is, yes, I truly do believe that there are energies and entities within that realm who are trying to give us indications that the way we're going with industrialization is going to be of our own demise and of their demises as well. So I think that there's definitely that environmental factor. But I think that the other factor why there is more encounters, and there's an increasing amount of encounters, is twofold. One, people aren't as scared or as worried to talk about it as they were 20 years ago. And the second thing is people are getting back to being connected with nature. So we've had a huge rise of paganism and paganism sympathising, whether it's religious paganism or whether it's the philosophical side of paganism. And I mean, I saw a massive rise within the lockdowns because people were getting out into nature, that they were having experiences because they were going into woods, they were going onto beaches, they were spending as much time as they could out in the natural environment because there was bugger all else to do, really, because they weren't going to work. And in a local woods where I was living at the time, had seen no signs of having any fairy interaction before. And then almost overnight, kids had covered the place with little fairy doors and were putting out rocks with little pictures of fairies on and leaving offerings for them. And it just took a life of its own. It wasn't, it was hundreds of items turned up in this woods, over a very short period of time. So people want to connect. People want to connect to magic, and of course, that's going to call these beings out. They're going to be like, okay, then we're safe to come out, lads. Let's go. Let's see what we can do.
I wanted to share. It's sort of a poem by Terry Pratchett. It's and I wanted to know your opinion on it. I'll read it for you. Owls are wonderful. They provoke wonder. Owls are marvelous. They cause marvels. Owls are fantastic. They create fantasies. Owls are glamorous. They project glamour. Owls are enchanting. They weave enchantment. Owls are terrific. They beget terror. The thing about words is that their meanings can twist just like a snake. And if you want to find snakes, look for them behind words that have changed their meaning. No one ever said that owls are nice.
That's very good. It's very perceptive as well, isn't it?
Do you think that Terry Pratchett might have had an encounter at some point?
I think Terry Pratchett and certainly Tolkien as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to anybody who writes about them in a or is an artist, so I'm not talking to people who take the subject on an academic level, they will say that they feel like they have had some kind of energetic encounter at the very, very least. I mean, I know while writing my books, I've not only felt the presence of the characters that I've been writing about and almost felt like they were channeling their story through me, but I've had mediums who I've never met before while I was writing the first book going, you've got a really weird entourage around you. These aren't spirits of the dead. What's going on? And I'm like, yeah, I know who they are. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. They're helping me out right now. So, yeah, I think all these creative, people who are very, very good at exploring fantasy must have had that touch of that realm, definitely.
Can I just add, right? Because for people in the chat, when you think of fairies, you might be like me and picture something that's beautiful looking, pointy ears, wings, whatever, right? But something nice. I just want to touch on something that Dan, and Dan's not here to talk about it, but I'm sure he will not mind me saying to you. On the way home from an investigation, he'd been at my house. We'd had coffee. We were still very much wide awake, and he did an hour's journey back to his home from my house. And he came off one of the A roads. It was empty, nothing there. A car had overtaken him as he was just coming off the slip road. A car had overtaken him, big sports car. And Dan's like, oh yeah, boy racer, what you speeding for this time of night? There's nobody here on the roads. And this car all of a sudden started braking for no reason, went quite slow, and then sped off again. And Dan thought, oh, you Wally, it's a good job there's no cars. It will cause an accident. And it was when he got to the spot where this sports car had slowed down that he realised that something didn't feel right. He actually felt it first. And then something made him just look to the verge. And there was a man with, and I mean pure white skin, naked, crouched with near enough pure white hair. He said he's noticed the ear, but he can't remember what the ear looked like. But this man turned and looked at him, and he said his heart sank. He put his foot down to get away from it quick, like the sports car, and he said, Viv, I saw the Fae last night, and I kid you not, I shit myself. I said, what if it was somebody that was in need of help? Why didn't you stop? No way. He said, no, he said, and I wasn't going to ring the police neither. He said, because how do you explain that to a police officer? They're going to think you're off your nut, and they're going to come to your house to see if you've been drink driving, whatever. He said, no. He said, I'd rather just forget it. And he said, I can replay it. He said, and I remember the features of his face. What did he look like? He said, he just looked like a normal person. But it wasn't right, Viv. He said, I was terrified. He said, I was nearly in tears driving home. I went, really? The Fae would do that to you? And he said, Viv, don't trust them. And that's all he would say. Don't trust them. And he wouldn't answer any more questions. So firstly, the fact that he looked human, would you say that this could happen a lot? Could happen to anyone, and they're not noticing or taking in what they're seeing. The energies are not connecting, if that makes sense. The fact that he was scared, did he do the right thing by just getting out and not confronting it or anything like that?
I think for him, yeah, he probably did the right thing. I think I would have pulled over. But
that's what I thought. Like, it might have been somebody who needed help, but he said no. Life,
even if it was a Gollum type character, I'd have been like, "What's that? I've got to go and find out what that is." I mean, the first part of the question is a very good point about fairies looking like sexy Tinkerbells with wings and pointed ears, and that was definitely something that came around through the Victorian era. Prior to that, they weren't. The majority of fairies that are depicted within folklore and accounts are like wizzly old men. Very rarely you would see a female fairy, but they were, your boggits, your brownies, your goblins, your hobgoblins. They would tend to be, your encounters would have been in what they perceived to be male, and they were gnarly, child-sized, gnarly little characters. You've got the Industrial Revolution, and people left those apparent rural beliefs behind, and stopped believing in them, but it kind of bubbled up in this, or let's see a little bit of leg in the Edwardian period. It's like, oh, that's, we can do it because it's a fairy. We can show a bit of side boob if it's a fairy, but we can't do it if it's an actual woman. So stick a pair of wings on something that's a little bit sexy, and you can get away with them, having them on absinthe bottles
Yeah.
and in books. But the winged aspect didn't come about, and I'm going to get his name wrong because I get it mixed up with pasta. I'm going to say Frizzelli, and I'm hoping I've got his name right. And he was the very first artist in that period to depict wings on fairies, and it was a painting that he did of Puck. And the wings that he depicted were absolutely demonic bat wings. But from there on, this notion of fairies being able to take to the air, which they could, but it wasn't necessarily with wings. That's how they explained it. They stuck wings on them, and that's how they explained flying fairies in flight.
Fusilli, I think.
Sorry, did I say it right?
Fusilli,
Fusilli.
Fusilli, I think.
That's the one. Yeah,
Yes.
I always say it like the pasta. I get it wrong, and I kick myself every time.
I think that
I
you and Lee have not got you've got it on the head about creative people and their connection to the Fae. But I think there's one thing. I think I would go further than that. I think everybody has interactions with them. They just don't necessarily know it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But they are as much a part of life as any of us four. My cat who's asleep over there, and everybody, they're just a part of existence. And most people don't realize it.
Because most people wander around, they're bombarded with life, they're looking at the phone all the time, they're in hectic environments. It's just when you slow down and you connect and you take yourself into those quieter environments, those natural environments. But I totally agree with you, and I on the back of that, I do believe that we're all psychic and we're all mediums as well. It's just some people to choose to tap into it, some people tap out of it. So it's just another sense, isn't it? It's just another sense that we have.
I think it's lovely that people.
Wilson?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Vivian, ladies first. You first, darling.
I was just saying, I think it's lovely that people are dipping their toe in and sort of getting in tune with energy in whatever way that they want to do that. They're dipping their toe in, so they're getting a taster, which also can open up other doors, if you like. So I think it's amazing that more people are doing that.
Oh, very much so.
I also think
I was wondering, Kate, if you'd read Robert Anton Wilson.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should do. I will hunt out some stuff for you.
Oh,
sorry, Lee. Carry on, mate.
It's all right. When I was about 14, I was running down. I used to run away from bullies a lot. That's what I used to do when I was younger. And these two people were they're going to drop kick me in the back, I think. But something happened as they went completely over the top of my head and somersaulted and landed on their bottoms in front of me. Now, I don't have the strength to do that. They looked back and they saw something that I didn't see that was behind me. And they looked absolutely terrified, and I didn't speak to them again after that. They just avoided me. Could that be a fae, or would that be something else? Or
it could be. I mean, there are reports of beings of this realm being anything from, the diminutive tiny little things right the way up to, absolutely monstrous, as tall as two houses. And it made me smile actually, because um, there are in the Fey realm those who will see injustice, and especially in those kind of scenarios, and step in, and they can, to an untrained eye, look like the devil. So we've got things like Pukas, we've got the Kanunos type characters, we've got her, that have that kind of horned god type of look about them. And I just wonder whether, one of those characters has rocked up and said, no, 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 you don't hurt this guy. And that's what's terrified them, that there's something behind them that they associate with a Christian devil. Or, I'm just plucking that idea out of thin air, but that was the first image that kind of popped in my head when you were saying that.
My first
I think
encounter with
it's the other way around, Kate. It's not that these things look like the Christian devil. It's that the people who formed the church iconography
Mhm.
took the image of, because the Christian
And
devil is Pan, basically.
yes,
They just took the idea of the horned god from Pan and demonized it.
Yep, and Kanunos and Herne and the Puka and all these characters that were sacred to the
All the
people of the
same thing.
land. Yeah, they subsumed it into, Lucifer looked nothing like Satan that we know today. It's we went from a beautiful dark angel into, this horrible horned red-skinned devil, and that transaction doesn't work unless you look at the lineage of what they were trying to take away from the pagan people. So I totally agree.
Yeah. We got a question in the chat. I'm going to put it up here. John, would you read that out for Kate, please?
Yeah, of course I will. Hang on. This is from Nettie. Hi, Nettie. You are a darling, as always. I have a question. Have they ever been seen covered in anything that looks like black feathers? I am asking for a specific reason.
Okay, so it's one of the characters that I've just mentioned. So, and it's one of the characters that I have been coming across so many times for the last couple of years, with people having encounters, and they will usually say it was like a very large demonic looking rabbit, which sounds hilarious, but they have been genuinely petrified by this encounter. So we have the Puka, which is usually confined to Wales and the Welsh borders. However, I have heard it sort of hopping around in counties all up and down the country. That will shapeshift, and it's very animalistic in its form. So it will take on feathers sometimes, it will take on fur sometimes, it will take on big type owl ears sometimes it will be very cat-like, but it will shift, and it's always got a really horrible feeling around it when it kind of comes into energetic being. And if we're to take the folklore side of it, there's also a smell of urine when these beings are around, so you'll get that kind of ammonia smell with them, but they don't tend to stick around too long. And talking about the devil and that correlation with these things, the Puka love to play a game of cards, as the devil we know, as well as being a fiddle player, likes to play games, and gamble. So if you're ever having problems with it, it might be an idea just to set out a deck of cards and put two hands out, and make sure it loses. So overnight, make sure your hand's better than it, and it will soon bugger off in disgust that it's lost a game of cards.
I've heard that in Ireland quite a lot about the devil.
Demonic.
About the
I've
devil
been collecting
coming
stories
to.
of demonic.
But in Ireland, they played cards, and the devil had gone and got some lady pregnant, and then come back, finished the game of cards, and then shot off through the roof. So,
Yes.
and these are stories of old, but they've also
Mm-hmm.
they're not backwards and coming forward, are the Irish? They tell us about the cat do you know about the black cat? That there's somebody has a picture of the black cat, and if you see the black cat, you're supposed to cross yourself and keep yourself safe and get the iron out. And yeah, and they have the picture of the cat on the wall to try and appease the cats. And I'm thinking, but it's just a cat. But they say, no, it's not just a cat. And by explaining about the rabbit, the puka, that sort of is beginning to make sense. So
the cat thing, the cat thing and the superstition that we have comes over from Ireland about black cats, and they have the cat she, which is the fairy cat, and the cat she is distinguished by it has a small amount of white on its chest, so it's not fully black. The black cat that we understand then transmuted into a witch's black cat, became a witch's familiar, became something in line with the devil through the witch trials, etc. But the cat she is it's another fairy, and it's a glamorization of a fairy that's wanted to take that cat form because it's enjoyed the cat form. But it's again something that it has that trickster nature, and cats do have trickster natures. I mean, on a side shoot, I heard somebody talking a while back about domestic cats are the only mammals that have eyes like reptiles, so they have slits that way, and there's no other mammal that has slits that way. And science has tried to explain why it's happened without any, they haven't done it justice at all. And that's why we get this thing about domestic cats, especially that were bred through the Egyptian bloodlines, are the animals that will traverse dimensions, because they are not quite a mammal. They're saying they're not quite a reptile. They're some kind of, I mean, there are theories that they're an alien mashup, which I really like. They've got alien spliced genes in them, which I do genuinely like that. That's a silly aside, but yeah, the cat she is definitely one. Always be kind to a black cat with a white bib. It's definitely a wise thing to keep them.
John,
Lilith.
you know that Lilith is. She described Lilith to a T with a little white bib.
Is that one of your cats?
It's my favorite of my cats is Lilith, which is of course
Lilith?
a magical name itself.
Yes.
Lilith
yes.
Tinkerbell, which considering
you go.
what we're talking about this evening,
Cat she.
You've
That's
got
what
a fairy cat.
who don't know, Lilith was supposedly Adam's first wife.
She was.
My cat is.
And
He's fully black,
then
but he's
became
called
the Babylonian snake demon.
See, John is my cat, which is why I've got and John sometimes, not Jonathan, not John Downs, but the cat John. Yeah, that's Lilith's boyfriend.
So the first time that I saw something supernatural was when I was about 8.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a figure at my window that looked like a monk.
Right.
And then it moved. It was there a few days. I had a high sleeper, and it moved, and it went into my mirror. And I remember staring and looking into the mirror and not seeing my face, but seeing this other face. And I remember not being able to speak or move because I was so terrified. I was completely rooted to the spot. I couldn't move even if I want to. And it told me that it wanted me to join it and to be with it. Yeah. And the lady below just reminded me, because that had sort of not really wings. It was very, very beautiful. It wasn't ugly. It was very, very beautiful, but not in a conventional way. I couldn't really describe it, but I just remember it was so beautiful that it was scary. Does that make sense? And I remember telling my mother and not having any mirrors in my bedroom ever since that happened, or going past mirrors at night. I try to avoid them if I can. But I wonder if my life would have been a bit different if I'd have said, yes, come on, take me in.
Well, you might not have been
Yeah.
here. You might not have been
No.
sitting talking to us.
Mm. But yeah, so would that be a fae or would that be something else, do you think?
It sounds like a combination of a few things that does. I mean, there is interesting crossovers when you're talking about things like incubus and succubus, and interesting themes that go across into the fairy realm. It's the same with jinn. You know, there are fairies or demons, if you like, from other cultures that share with the same sort of language of fairies. Um, and with the spirits of the dead that are in that sort of turbulent, can't go anywhere, so they're kind of flitting in and out of our reality. um you know, that there are motifs that run through them all. So sometimes unpicking what's fairy, what's the spirits of the dead, what's something else, even if it's alien, you know, unpicking fairies from aliens is a hard job if you can do it at all. So there are motifs that run through all of them, and to say it's just one thing, you know, would take I think on in the field research. So it would have to be, you know, you're in there, you're checking it out on the field and on the ground before you can start even kind of coming to any conclusions about what it may be.
Guys, I'll be back in a second. I've just got to leave. I'll be back. I'm just having a diabetic moment, so I'll be back in a
Oh,
minute.
bless
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Look at yourself.
Oh, bless him. Annette in the chat has said
Hmm.
she's talked about the smell of dead graveyard flowers. I'm putting a smell of dead graveyard flowers that followed us, and a message at night from a feathered being all connected to Bry, who was a show host on this network.
Hmm.
In the run up to him passing away, he passed away very, very suddenly and without warning, I believe.
Right.
And
Okay.
so,
I mean, that could have changed the context to it being a puka. It could be one of the psychopomps. So we have um, individuals in all kinds of cultures that will who will come to see spirits home, if you like. So they will be around for maybe a period of time before that happens. And sometimes the scene, so the banshee is a psychopomp. She's not a malevolent spirit. She's there and she will lament the coming of a death, but she will also help those spirits transition. So often they look dark, and they feel dark. Like we've got the ferryman. You know, the ferryman is a cloaked skeleton. You know, which is terrifying. But actually, his job is to easily pass people over the river, to ascend or whatever they're going to do over the other side. So even if it was felt like that being was a malevolent being, it sounds more like a psychopomp than it does sound like a fairy. Um, which I don't think is a bad thing. You know, it's something come calling, and give warning, I think.
yeah, she's saying, and she just reminded me actually, Bry was very into the Fae as well. And
Mm,
he used to talk about frequency and working in frequency quite a lot. Um,
yeah.
so could he maybe had a connection with it beforehand
Yeah,
and did,
I think
and then,
it probably sounds like he got a royal entourage that kind of took him to where he should be, you know, carried him to the homelands or whatever, and showed him the way. So I think it's a very rare thing. I mean, the banshee, for instance, are said to attach to um, particular families, you know, long bloodline families, and they will stay with that family out of a loyalty and a reverence for that family. So I think, you know, it can only be quite a glorious thing that somebody had a sense of a psychopomp before they passed away. You know, they're obviously seen in the other realms high enough to warrant that kind of escort, if you like. So I would see it as a positive. Personally, I would see that as a real positive thing.
yeah. I'm going to ask you a question that I'm surprised Jonathan hasn't asked you yet. Now, I don't know how to put this. Could drug-induced people that take it, I'm not just talking that smoke a bit of grass, I'm talking about LSD, mushrooms,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. Could that also escalate? So you're going to have your experience, you're going to see some wacky things, lovely. But afterwards, could that, as you say, open the door, come in, have a gin? You know, could that also, because without sounding like I know what I'm talking about, your inhibitions go. So you're seeing lovely things, you're seeing strange things, you might even see a fairy and think it's just part of the trip, but then decide to stay. I mean, could that call things in and then stay because I've done this or
I don't
experimented with that?
I don't know about pull things in. I think it opens us up to any altered state of being, whether it's a natural altered state of being. So a good friend of mine, Dr. Neil Rushton, talks about this in great length. That most fairy encounters will occur when people are in an altered state of being, and usually a natural one. So just upon waking, just upon falling asleep, you're in that kind of transient mode where your brain waves are sort of very, very settled.
Yeah.
Meditation in also in an almost meditative state. The thing when it comes to drugs, and especially psychoactive drugs, I think people are seeing beyond their receptors. And I'm not advocating this. I'm not saying everybody
No,
go out
no,
and,
no, no. Yeah, yeah.
buy a batch of LSD or anything. But one of the most interesting for me that I've come across has been DMT. So people who take ayahuasca and synthetic DMT. DMT is created in the ayahuasca. Not that I know that much about it. I'm just saying as a
Yeah,
bit of a tag, that people globally, whether they are in a small tribe in the Amazon that have very rare contact with other human beings, or people in a flat in London who are taking it recreationally, are all seeing the same beings and communing with these beings in a very similar way. And there's theories about this being, a higher vibrational experience that's outside the material. Basically, in my mind, we are spooks in meat suits. So we are contained. We are very driven by our material senses, and we often forget that we're living in an energetic vibrational universe where this it isn't solid. There are other things going on, and I don't think it opens us up to invite things in. I don't think I think that that's a societal view of keeping people from having these experiences for their own good a lot of the time. You don't want everybody in the world to be every other day taking a trip or taking narcotics, because there'd be a bit of a collapse of society. So there. I mean, go and have a look at the work of Dr. David Luke. He puts it. He's done a massive amount of work about DMT particularly, and similar beings. But there's something been bantered around on social media, and it's something I want to look into further, not on a personal level, but there's a particular mushroom that everybody has the same experience with diminutive people, and no matter who or where they take this mushroom, they all see these same diminutive people, which is absolutely fascinating.
Oh, remember
So
that. I'm off to
it is.
Amsterdam soon.
Well,
Sorry,
bring
John.
bring some back for me, Vivian.
I'll
Yes.
I'll
try.
give you some at Strange Days. I'll get you some for Strange Days.
I
I
don't know.
always knew you were my sort of people, Kate. Oh,
Oh dear.
It's
Poor Kate.
It's actually World Pride this year in Amsterdam. I don't know if everyone knows, but it's World Pride this year. Yeah, so they're celebrating a big, massive Pride. It's I think it's July to August. It's going to be very, very fabulous.
are you
Oh, I
going
need
to
to.
Kate, I mentioned the mirror earlier on.
Mhm.
I had a very strong sense that the mirror I think it was secondhand, and I think that the mirror contained something that was brought in separately. Is that possible, or am I talking?
No, that's absolutely possible. I mean, all kinds of spirits get attached to all kinds of things. Fairies are the same. They will, and particularly, I was looking at jinn, and under that kind of umbrella as a fairy type. And the whole notion of genie in the bottle comes from jinn, and they will become attached to objects, and you know, and unable to sort of get away from that object. So you can literally sort of keep them in that object. And I wonder whether something's been attracted to that mirror. And not being able to get out the other side, because mirrors are they're fascinating things, aren't they? They are fascinating things, and have been from
Oh, they're
the
wonderful.
very, they're absolutely wonderful for seeing into the opposite realm. We've got an Alice in Wonderland thing going off there, and so they would be very attractive to spirits, because maybe it's that vanity thing where they can have some sense of themselves, or maybe it is that mirrors their realm, because their realm is mirrored. I mean, who knows? If you ever get to speak to a spirit, that's a good question to ask them. What's the thing with mirrors? And maybe you'll get some answers.
It's also used in binding. So if you was
Yes.
to bind something and you needed a vessel to bind it to quieten it down or get rid,
Mhm.
the mirror is like a go-to object, is something that's readily available. Everyone has one, and it's easier to do it into a mirror. So I've been told.
Yes, it is, and there's that whole witchcraft, very ancient witchcraft knowledge that glass contains. So a bit of a side one, but a massive bugbear of mine is of the Instagram witch is using making spell jars, and it's like, well, where do you expect that magic to go? You've got it contained in glass. You can't put something, stick a load of wax on top of a cork and expect it to go out into the ether. It's like you're just going to sit there for decades. Do a spell and set it free. Don't keep it contained like a little imp.
Yeah, it's like the witch bottle thing, where they would put some really nasty objects in the witch bottle
Yes.
with iron and even urine. And then
Yes.
I know of one that was actually buried with a priest, which
Mhm.
is strange. But anyway, again, it's the glass thing that comes
Yes.
into it. It's that. So
I mean,
woo,
if you look at most witchcraft bindings, it's either clay or glass that they will put spirits in, or they will bind bad juju in these things and bind them up with all of the things. It's like that. If you're using a container, it's to contain. If you want your spell work to go out, you don't put it in something that it's not going to go anywhere or work or do anything. But if you want to contain something, use a container. It's fairies are another one. There are theories that fairies can be I mean, a good fairy trap, and I don't know whether I should say this out loud on the internet, but is a mirror on the bottom of a box, because apparently they're that vain that they will want to go into the box to see their own reflection, and to coo over themselves in the reflection. Then you snap it shut and put a bit of a dusting of a spell over the top, and there you go. You've got a boxed fairy.
I wouldn't want to do that. That seems a bit cruel. But yes.
Who wouldn't want a boxed fairy? I'd want a boxed fairy. I'd be very kind to it.
that's like your original Dybbuk box, isn't it? When you think about what a Dybbuk box is, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing.
Divot box? What's a divot box?
A Dybbuk box. The name Dybbuk is a Jewish word, Dybbuk, and I think it was a wine case that was originally used. I think this is going back to the Second World War. Anyway, something was contained within this little wine box, sealed with wax, and when it was eventually opened, because it ended up in an antique store, it released carnage and people died, and yeah.
I think
So it,
further onto that story, which is really interesting how that story has evolved, and especially with the likes of Zach Bagans, is that the Dybbuk box was an outpouring of sorrow. So if
yes,
somebody was lost at war, their wife or their child could use these boxes to literally scream their sorrow into. And they said that that then manifested again, it's the egregore or tulpa nature that would then manifest into its own being, and they'd snap it shut, keep it contained and bury it. And that was their sorrow gone, but
gone.
their
Yeah.
sorrow then took its own form, which is just fascinating. It fascinates me, that does.
But don't you think that that's quite dangerous, especially when you've got something on the lines of what the Nazis did, and somebody
Hmm.
coming from that and putting that in there, and then you've got all these years later, something like Zach Bagans is showcasing this. Yes, he's bringing history back to life, but he's also putting intentions out there within his museum. I know
Hmm.
that there's a court case going on right now, and I do feel sorry for him because whatever you think of him, he's a fantastic businessman. Um,
Hmm.
but what he's done, and he's actually hurt without touching them. He's actually hurt somebody else that ended up in hospital. It's quite serious, and I believe the court case is still going on. So we await to see what comes from that. But yeah, as a result, his museum has been closed.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
shut
I
at the
don't
moment.
know anything about this. Who? What museum?
The Haunted
Somebody,
Museum in Las Vegas. Zach Bagans, you got to watch that program. I'm going to come around and show you what that program is to get you up to speed, John.
when I was in Las Vegas, I was too busy chatting up showgirls and taking drugs. So
Good for you.
Did you see the Fae while you was there? No.
I'm not sure. I saw all sorts of interesting things.
So I go into, because I do first aid and I travel around the country and go into hotels a lot, different places. How would I go about summoning a fae if I wanted to summon one?
Oh,
I wouldn't
should you?
even
Should
take.
you? I don't think you should. Oh, Kate says otherwise.
Well, I could tell you how to do it if you really want to know. And it's not that hard. You can just speak them into existence, and say, "Would you come forward?" And the key here is, if you're going to do it, and I always say to this to people, because people say generally, "Oh, I work with Faye." That's what I do. I work with Faye. I call them in. They do X, Y, and Z for me, and I'll say, "Well, what's the payment?" And they'll say, "What?" I'll say, well, what was the boundaries that you set in a watertight contract, and what is the payment that they're expecting? And one of the things that comes from that is the folklore tells us never ever thank a fairy. And that comes from, if you thank them, they've done something for you, so you owe them something. So never say thank you to a fairy. Make sure you have your your everything set out before you embark on any kind of relationship with them. And make sure you know how you can get rid of them as well. It's like with spirits, never call up what you can't put down. If you've got the knowledge to call them up, have the knowledge to put them back down again.
There's a saying in New York, Lord Lee, is it not for nothing? Remember that,
Hmm.
not for nothing. So you've got to remember what you're going to offer, not for nothing.
Well, I just thought about, I wouldn't invite them here into my own space, by the way. That sounds like madness. But rather me go into their spaces and just not something to gain. I don't want to gain anything particularly.
Hmm.
I just want a shared understanding, them understanding me and me understanding them.
I
So
don't think that's ever going to. I don't think that that's ever going to happen between fairies and humans. I don't think there will ever be a shared understanding. But I think, like, we will be able to see them in truth. They will be able to see us in truth. And I don't think you have to do anything for that to be apparent to them. And if you're interested in them, they're interested in you. And I think if you, the only way that I think that and it's not getting anything from them, but having that symbiotic relationship, which is something that we shared, since the dawn of time that we've lost.
Yeah.
Gardening is a fantastic one. Out in the garden, I will say to the gnomes, can we just keep the slugs back a bit this year? Come on, I want this to be a really healthy, thriving space for the bees and the bugs and the birds. Or going into the woods and picking up a bit of litter and saying, can we work together to make this space and keep this space beautiful for everybody and everything, And I think that that's possibly the way to for them to see you and for you to see them. I think that that's probably the best way to put it, instead of, not having a relationship, but understanding them.
But I don't think you're ever going to have the sort of mutual understanding you were talking about any more than you're going to have mutual understanding with an ostrich. They're just
Yeah.
you're too different.
Yeah.
Are you saying that they can be dangerous?
Oh, fuck.
Totally.
Sorry.
That's exactly what I would have said.
I'm autistic, you see, so sometimes I miss vagaries.
Yeah, what John said. He said it right.
My advice, Lee, is never fuck with the Fae. Never fuck with anything that you don't understand. You can look at it from you can look at them from a safe distance, as long as you have made yourself safe. And for Christ's sake, don't tell my brother in Bible study I'm saying this. Because Lee and I actually, my brother's a Church of England priest, and Lee and I both go to a Bible study class that he runs on Mondays. But for fuck's sake, you saw the reaction he had when I mentioned Ouija boards on Monday.
Dear.
Oh no!
For Christ's sake, don't ever tell him I told you to cast the circle of protection. I can tell you how to do it, but for fuck's sake, never tell him.
No. Unless he watches this episode, of course, which...
Oh, God, no. God help me.
No, the Bible study, I've been leading a talk on Ecclesiastes, but I kind of approach it because I believe in the idea of the creator, that a bit like an ocean, and we're a drop, but the ocean is a drop and the ocean at the same time. And that's how I think of the idea of God and things. And I don't believe in the literal Bible or anything like that, because I think that's really silly. But with fairies, I think that they're as old as the earth. I think they're probably older than humanity, certainly.
Yeah.
My friend Arda, he came to stay with me from Turkey, and he said that he was able to work with the jinn.
Oh,
Nice,
yeah.
Do you know what I've got? And I've lived in an Arab country for 3 years when I was younger, and when I was I was out in the Arab states, there's a big thing about the jinn, and the Arabs know a thing or two about the jinn. And like we say, we don't fuck with the fae, they're saying definitely don't fuck with the jinn. And I was privy to a conversation where there was a couple of guys out in Dubai in the dunes on their quad bikes, and get this, they saw a man in the distance. So he was wearing all the Arab garb, with the headdress and the thing round it and the long gown. But he was running, and he was running towards them. And they were all laughing, having a cigarette, laughing and joking about this man running on the sand. And then one of them said, it's hard enough to walk on the sand, let alone run. And have you ever seen anyone run at that speed? He was running straight to them. So both of them, they all just dropped their cigarettes, got back on their bikes and off, because the jinn are so, how can I explain it? To them, the jinn is like our devil.
Mm.
Yeah, they don't come with anything good. And they use jinn in a form of black magic out there. And one of their things is if you see black feathers in your home, somebody's cursed you and jinn's coming. So it's all a big "Ooh."
Which
Anyway.
comes up with exactly what dear Nettie asked earlier. That black feathers.
Well,
No,
it's
but
quite
physically kind
interesting.
of black feather. Yeah.
It's quite interesting because Arda went to this working man's club. He's quite gay and quite flamboyant, same as me, but more so. I know that sounds hard to believe, but he was actually more gay than me. But he got punched in the face for being gay in this club, and he told them that he was going to send the jinn after them.
Oh.
Oh God, no!
But the and the pub actually has closed down since. It's completely boarded over and closed down.
Did he do anything? That's the
No,
question you got to ask.
he just spoke it to them. That was all. But I've always been psychically in touch with things, you know, if that makes sense. And he said he had power to control the jinn, which I don't know what that particularly means.
Oh, Jesus.
No. From a Muslim point of view, from a Middle Eastern point of view, absolutely no one can control jinn. That's like having the Fae that's got a split personality, but right at the top, like real serious trouble, and you were never going to control it, and it will come to you with a lie and then do what it wants anyway, and it will definitely cause you harm. There's been many deaths over there, and it's quite serious. But from a Middle Eastern point of view, yeah, just don't even go there. It's
I just thought
I don't know how that,
folks.
and I don't know how Kate feels about what she knows about the jinn, but I've seen it from the Middle Eastern side.
A very interesting chat on a couple of occasions with a guy called Dara Mason, who has a Spirit Box podcast, which is an absolutely superb. I don't advocate podcasts very often, but his podcast is absolutely superb. And he had been working around with the idea of jinn for many years, and had gone out to places like India to the jinn temples, which they have a very different view of seeing them as they can be malevolent, but they can be benevolent as well, and they are prayed to, and they are given gifts. But they are contained within these temples through iron chains. He's got a really fascinating perspective, because he's actively gone out seeking people's understanding of jinn. And he said, very much like the fairies in the first instance, that the jinn were made of smokeless fire or something like that, or fireless smoke, and they walked alongside human beings, and it was it was the humans' fault that they separated. But they're neither extremely benevolent or malevolent. They can be both, but they are a lot of the time neutral. And he talks about, and I have heard this before, about people who can call on the jinn and have mastery. And again, there's that folkloric notion that they can be attached to objects. And I've met people who will say that they have a jinn ring. So they have a ring on a particular finger on their hand that's inscripted in Arabic that their jinn is attached to, that they can call the jinn forward. Now, yes, there must be much fear around that, because if they don't take that payment in this life, then they're going to take it in another life. These are things that are so primordial that we have no way of controlling them, like we have no way of controlling smoke or fire. It's unpredictable, and it's kind of that kind of element. But yeah, it absolutely fascinates me. It fascinates me, the jinn do.
I mean, they did take the piss out of him when he said it, and they were laughing at the idea of this creature. and he did say that idea would make it worse for them.
Yes. There was a
The
survey
thing
that
is,
that
I was going to
just
say
very
that
briefly,
go on, you go, Kate.
there was a survey, and it was one of the Middle Eastern countries, and it wasn't that long ago, and I can never remember where it is. It's one of those ones that goes, I've got in my head that it was Dubai, but it was somewhere like that. And there was a professor of a university who did a study across a hospital and a hospital attached to a university about their beliefs in jinn and illness, and it was ridiculously high proportion of junior doctors and of practicing doctors, including surgeons, who believed that that a good proportion of people's illnesses could be treated through treating jinn, as well as treating the ailment. And it's still absolutely prevalent. I mean, they genuinely believe that the ranges of epilepsy are jinn induced. So those kind of seizures, they say, are jinn taking over the body, are trying to attack or attach into the body. I just find it absolutely fascinating. Very wealthy, very well educated people have such a belief and fear that it affects the way they work. I mean, it's not to the detriment of the patients at all, because it kind of adds to a care package, if you like. But they truly do believe that you can't treat an illness without treating the jinn, which is it's fascinating.
I
Yeah,
think
and
that's very likely.
And the
There's
imams
a-
and the temples are also spending not just weeks to help people that have been affected by jinn, but it takes years. And
Yeah.
to see, I physically saw somebody possessed in India, and it was the most, honestly, it was genuine, and it was the most frightening thing I've ever seen as a child. And I've seen the start of a beheading, which didn't frighten me as much as seeing
Yeah.
this young boy. My dad pulled me away, and he said, "Don't look at him, don't look at him. He's possessed, he's got the jinn inside him." And that came from my dad's mouth to a 7-year-old girl, and that is the most frightening thing I've ever seen in my life, and we'll never see it again, hopefully. But yeah, those thoughts ever stay with me.
I'm
Yeah,
so
I bet.
tempted to make a joke here about, yes, gin can be dangerous, but so can brandy and so can whiskey. And Vivian,
can only be-
do you realise
Gin-
the time?
Sorry, Kate, what was you going to say?
I
Don't
was just
listen
going to
to
say,
John.
no, I was going to say to John, gin can only be dangerous if you don't take it with tonic and you drink a whole bottle in one go.
I've drunk a whole bottle in one go, and well, okay, look at me, I can't walk anymore. But so yes, you're probably very right.
Oh, bless you.
Vivian,
Right. Yes, we
we
better stop, hadn't we?
not just that. I speak for all of us. Kate, will you come back again soon? Because this last hour and a half went so quick, and we haven't scratched the surface.
It would be my absolute pleasure.
And Lord
You're-
Lee too. Will you come back as well with Kate?
Oh yes, I'd love to come back and talk to you guys.
I'd like Lord Lee to come on a regular basis, He's been absolutely brilliant.
I'd love to come on a regular basis if you'll have me.
And Kate,
Definitely.
you're an absolute poppy. It's lovely having you on the show. So please, oh God, I've just had a thought. Vivian,
Oh, no. What?
we've got to have her and Abby on the same show at the same time.
Yes!
Fucking hell, that would be entertaining.
Yeah, we could just pick on you, Jonathan.
Oh, just like when you had my girlfriend on a couple of weeks ago, all you did was just take the piss out of me all evening.
Can I just say, those people in the chat, before we go, if you haven't seen it already, go and check out Kate's podcast. It's called, was it The Hair in the Head? Oh, what was it? I can't remember now.
Hair in the
Hair-
hawthorn.
That's the one. It's ever so good. Go and check it out. Go and leave a message. Tell them we sent you, and just get involved, because honestly, there's so much to learn. I'm learning all the time, but I'm learning from great people like Kate here, and from Lord Lee and from Jonathan every day. But we don't tell Jonathan that. We just give him a big.
God, why is it everybody just fucking picks on me?
Because we can.
I'll set Isabel on this.
Yeah, she'll help. Don't worry. She loves it.
I think she's watching at the moment. So, Isabel, are you going to sit back there and allow these horrid people to be nasty to your significant other?
I think probably she is, yes.
Yes.
Oh, fuck off, Lee.
So, what's happening on Saturday? You've got a show on Saturday. Tell us quickly before
We have
go.
the first of 3 shows in which Richard Freeman goes to India looking for the largest crocodile in India, which is probably the largest crocodile on mainland of Asia, and it's the beginning of his trips around the world to find the world's largest crocodiles.
And can I just say that Saturday's show is going to be lovely jubbly. I'm half Indian, so I get away with it.
Yeah, you can get away. You can get away with being racist. I can't.
I'm not racist. I'm just doing it in an Indian accent.
Oh dear.
Oh goodness gracious me!
It's going to be lovely jubbly, first class show. Make sure you're watching it. Okay, thank you, boss.
God, I love you, Vivian.
I love you too.
Really do. You're an absolute darling. You're all darlings. Even Lee, you're a darling.
Oh, thank you. Even, gosh.
Now, who have we got next week? Before we go,
I think it might be. I'm not sure. I think it's just me and you, John. So that's going to be fun.
It's going to be you and me fucking around as normal.
Well, I can join in if you like. If
Yeah, of course you can. And the week after that, we have Dr. Darren Naish.
Ooh.
Which will be good because he's an old friend of mine and he's looking forward to it. So,
what does he talk about?
He's a doctor of paleontology. Do you remember the show Live from Dinosaur Island about dinosaur digs on the Isle of Wight?
Oh, yes.
Well, that was him. That was him. Ah. He was the presenter of that, and he's an old friend of mine. I've known him for, oh, Jesus. He's 50 now, and I've known him since he was 17, so whatever that means. I can't add that.
I know, these old people, okay. I don't know what they're talking about, but we're going to say goodbye, and we're going to end it here. But thank you very much again, Kate. If anybody wants to get hold of you, they can find you through Facebook and on your podcast, and they can always leave a message for you. But we can't wait till you come back because we've got so many more questions.
Oh, Christ, yeah, this is going to go on and on. So I think you might as well sort of clear some Wednesdays during the year because I think you're going to be back a lot.
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
And it'll be massively funny to have you and Avi Dent from Devon Ghosts on the same thing together, because that will be just very, very entertaining to watch. I'm just going to sit back, keep quiet, and just watch it. It'll be massively entertaining.
I'm intrigued now.
Oh, she's a honey as well. She's an absolute honey. And
she's lovely.
I just get the vibe that you two are cut from the same bolt of cloth.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's one of the great bits about doing this show is that you can mix and match people.
And bring people together.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Right. Are we going to say goodbye now? I'm going to press the button. Are you ready?
Bye.
Time to go home. Time to go home from your simply spooky adrenaline ride. Time to go home. Time to go home. Even if you're terrified. Goodbye. Time to go home. Time to go home. Vivian and her weird friends are all going home. Time to go home. Time to go home. Vivian is waving goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.